I shouldn't have come back here. I swore to myself loudly, firmly, without a single what if, that I would never step on this land again, never breathe this city's air, never see these walls. I was 19 when I escaped. I stuffed my clothes into a bag, said no goodbyes, didn't look back. And as the bus pulled out of Glenville, I pressed my forehead against the window and whispered to myself, never again. But here I am, in front of the old house, fingers frozen on the suitcase handle, staring at the doorknob like it might burn me if I touch it. It all looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. This house was a cage. Not with bars or chains, worse. It was silence. Indifference so sharp it carved holes in me. The kind of silence that makes you question if you even exist. After Mom died, it was just me and Dad. And soon after, Julia. And her mother, who slipped so easily into the role of stepmother. Dad didn't leave us physically. His body was there behind the wheel in front of the TV. But the second he stroked Julia's hair and called her my sweet princess, he vanished from my world. I was never a princess. Julia was perfect for the role. She smiled like an angel, wore dresses with bows, carried flowers for teachers, called me sister in front of everyone. But when the doors closed, her eyes froze over like glass. I was 15. She was 11. One day she ripped my diary in half and sneered. That's because you don't write anything interesting. I cried that night. Quietly. Because if I told Dad, he'd just shake his head and say, don't exaggerate. She's just a child. But it didn't stop. It became systematic. Things vanished. Rumors spread. One day a teacher leaned over my desk and asked, is it true your mom drinks? I knew exactly where it came from. Julia. She accidentally overheard. She knew my mom had died of cancer. But hurting me, that was the point. I used to sit in the attic at night. From there I could hear the laughter downstairs. Julia's, my dad's, her mom's. Me? I wasn't part of it. The hardest part was that I tried. I really tried. I cooked breakfast, studied harder, kept quiet, didn't ask for anything. I thought if I behaved perfectly, they would finally notice me. But the more I tried, the less I mattered. When I turned 18, Dad gave Julia a laptop. She's starting graphic design, he said proudly. And me? A postcard. No words inside. Later I found the same card in a drawer. Already dated months before. It wasn't even meant for me. That's when I realized, if I stayed, I'd disappear completely. So I left. Another city, another life. I started from nothing. No Julia. No Dad. No begging for their love. And I thought that chapter was closed forever. Then the phone call came. Your father had a stroke. He's in the hospital. Someone has to take care of him. And just like that, it began again. She opened the door. She stood like she owned the place. Knitted sweater, hair pulled back, that same practice smile, wide but empty. There you are, she said. I thought you weren't coming. I didn't answer. My lips were tight, my hands freezing. My throat felt heavy. The smell of the house hadn't changed. Dust, old floors, that soap her mother used to buy. I stepped inside. And I felt it right away. This wasn't my home anymore. It was hers. Where's Dad? I asked. In the living room. Sleeping. The doctor said it's normal after the procedure. Her tone was calm, almost indifferent. Like she was talking about a stranger, not my father. We walked further. My eyes kept scanning the house automatically. What had changed, what was missing, what stayed? Everything was spotless. Flowers on the table, a candle by the TV. A blanket folded with care. Too clean, too perfect. Didn't feel real. More like someone else's setup than our home. Have you been here long? I asked. Since they took him to the hospital. I'm the only one who could. She let out a sigh, the kind that was meant to sound heavy. It's been hard. But someone had to be the adult. Her words always worked like that, on the surface correct but twisted inside. They cut, yet left nothing to grab onto. I'll get something to drink, I said, walking toward the kitchen. Oh, I just cleaned everything. If you need anything, I'll bring it. The kitchen was different too. Nothing left of Mom's touch. Her recipe notes that used to hang on the fridge gone. Now only printed charts, medication lists, schedules. It looked more like a clinic than a home. On the table was an open blister pack of pills. I froze. Those were supposed to be kept in the fridge. I knew that from working in social services. Why are the pills here? I asked. What? Julia appeared in the doorway. Oh, I just gave him his dose. Forgot to put it away. Sorry. She picked up the pack carefully, but her eyes slid over me, not surprised, not confused. Watching me, measuring how much I'd seen. I didn't say a word, but I noted it. We sat with tea in silence. While I was silent, she talked nonstop. How hard it was with Dad, how she carried everything on her shoulders, how nobody ever helped her. Each word laced with the same thing, guilt. A guilt she was already placing on me, even though I had just walked back into this house. She smiled at me the same way she did as a kid. And I remembered how she once told our dad I made fun of her in front of her friends, just because I refused to let her wear my clothes. How he yelled at me while she stood behind him, smiling. Just like now. She hadn't changed. And here I was, stuck in the same play. Alone. I woke up early. Not from an alarm, just because my brain refused to rest. The bed was hard, the air damp, the window fogged with condensation. I got up, pulled on a sweater, and went to the kitchen. Julia was already there. Sitting at the table, typing on her laptop. Next to her, columns, reminders, schedules neatly laid out. Good morning, she said without looking up. I made oatmeal. Dad ate half. I nodded, opened the cupboard, searching for coffee. The doctor said to limit caffeine. His blood pressure. There's chicory if you want. Okay. I didn't argue. The kitchen felt sterile, like everything was placed in rows. Her zone. Even the thought of moving anything felt wrong. What's the plan today? I asked as we ate. The nurse comes at 11 to check his pressure and work on his arm. Then at 2 physical therapy. I'll stay. She kept typing, didn't even look up. But if you want to do something yourself, let me know. I can pass you the task. No, I just want to be here. Okay, she said briefly. By lunchtime we were both in Dad's room. He sat half reclined, propped up with pillows. His face looked a little better than yesterday. When I came in he tried to smile. Hi, Dad, I said, sitting down carefully beside him. How are you feeling? Tired, he whispered. But better. His voice was weak, but I recognized it. It was the same voice that used to read me bedtime stories. That hit me harder than I expected. I reached out. He squeezed my hand, faint but real. Julia stood off to the side with her notebook. Blood pressure is 142/86. Stable for his condition, she muttered while writing. I'll do a light massage on his left arm. Then his 12 o'clock pills. I just nodded. Watched. Stayed quiet. Then she left the room. I stayed with Dad. He didn't talk. Neither did I. After a few minutes he whispered. Are you staying for a long time? As long as you need me to. He didn't answer. Just closed his eyes. After lunch I started unpacking. I opened my suitcase and noticed my phone charger was missing. I was sure I had put it in the outside pocket. I searched everywhere. Nothing. I checked the room again. Still nothing. Finally I went to the kitchen. Have you seen my charger? No. I didn't go through your things. I didn't say you did. Maybe you moved it somewhere? She shrugged. Look in the living room. Dad sometimes moves things around when he's bored. I didn't answer. I went to the living room, checked under the pillows, near the sofa, the drawer under the TV. And there it was. My charger. In a cupboard where I had never put it. I took it silently. No accusations. No panic. Just another note in my head. Strange. That evening we had dinner together. Dad ate well. Julia served stewed vegetables, toast, and meat she'd cooked in the oven. Everything arranged neatly. I added turmeric and a little ginger, she explained. Anti-inflammatory. Doctor recommended. Tastes good, Dad said softly. Thank you. Then she looked at me. Maybe you'll learn to cook someday too. What? Nothing, she shrugged. Just kidding. But it wasn't a joke. I heard what she really meant. It was a warning. The next day I woke up at 8:15. Late for this house. When I walked into the kitchen, Julia was already there. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other. She didn't even look up when I came in. I thought you'd wake me up, I said. You looked like you needed the sleep, she replied calmly. I didn't want to disturb you. How's Dad? Everything's under control. I gave him his medicine and breakfast. Her tone was casual, but the message was clear. I'm handling this. You're not. It was the first morning I felt truly pushed aside. No discussion, no choice. I want to see his treatment schedule. Can I have access to his medical records? I'm already keeping a journal. All the main points are there. She nodded toward the notebook on the table. If something's unclear, I'll explain. She wasn't hostile. She didn't need to be. The boundary was obvious. You're temporary. I'm permanent. I flipped through the notebook. Dates, times, dosages. Everything written out neatly. Too neatly. That's why I called the clinic. Just to check. We haven't received any request to change his medication, the nurse told me. Everything is the same as it was 2 weeks ago. Are you sure? We keep records of everything. I can send you a statement if you want. My chest tightened. Julia hadn't mentioned any changes. She just gave the pills to Dad. And he trusted her without question. Later I passed by her room. She was on the phone speaking low. No, she hasn't noticed anything yet. She's holding on, but it won't last. She's not built for this kind of pressure. Our eyes met. She stopped mid-sentence. Hung up. Who was that? I asked. Work. I do have other things to handle sometimes. Was that about me? She smirked. You wish. At that moment, Dad appeared in the doorway. Pajamas on, looking uneasy. Are you two fighting again? No, Dad. Julia answered quickly before I could. Martha's just tired. She needs time to adjust. His eyes shifted toward me, and for the first time there it was. Distrust. Small but real. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't waiting for me to slip up. She was already building the mistake for me. He was sitting by the window in an old rocking chair that used to be in the garage. Julia had dragged it inside that morning, laid a blanket over the armrests. How are you? I asked, taking the chair opposite him. Fine. My head's less noisy today. My hands are working a little better. His voice was hoarse but calm. For a second I just wanted to sit with him. No fights. No tension. But then he spoke. Julia told me that you're out of work. I froze. Yes. I put the project on hold. Temporarily. So I could come here. And financially? Are you managing? I nodded slowly, though I could already feel the pressure building inside me. For now, yes. I have savings. And some remote jobs. Enough to manage. He sighed. Turned his head to the window. Stayed silent. Dad. I leaned in carefully. Where did you get that idea? I just want to be sure you're not here because of the paperwork. What paperwork? The house. The care. The inheritance. The words hit me like a punch. I leaned back. Processing. Do you really think I came here for the inheritance? I don't know. I'm not accusing you. I'm just asking. Did someone tell you that? No. He said it too fast. I stood. My hands shook, but I kept my voice steady. I came because you're my father. Nothing else matters to me. He said nothing. When I stepped out, Julia was standing by the door with a bag from the pharmacy, pretending she hadn't heard anything. Everything okay? She asked. Fine. I walked past her. That evening I went to grab my sweater from the living room. I heard her voice in the kitchen. Yes, she's offended. But that's normal. She's always been sensitive about money. She just doesn't want to look interested. But really, who quits their job just like that? The words cut deep. Anger in my chest, humiliation in my stomach. She wasn't just twisting the story. She was painting me into something I wasn't. And worse, he believed her. The morning started like usual. Julia was making breakfast and I was helping Dad to the table. We didn't talk much anymore. Silence had become our routine. I made an appointment for Dad to see a notary, Julia said casually, moving between the kettle and the fridge. Friday. At 10. What kind of appointment? Power of attorney. Just in case something happens. That way we don't have to run around with papers when it's too late. And you didn't think to tell me earlier? I am. Right now. I looked at Dad. He didn't argue. Just looked uncomfortable. Do you support this? I asked. It's just a formality. His voice lacked confidence. No one's removing you. It's just easier if one person handles things. And I knew exactly who that one person was. Fine, I said evenly. I'll be at the meeting too. Julia smiled. She didn't argue. That evening after Dad fell asleep, I pulled out my old phone, updated it, and installed a recorder app. I set it up on the nightstand. I wasn't expecting a bombshell, I just needed proof. Not for court. For myself. The next day, while I was at the pharmacy, the recorder caught her voice in the kitchen. She's still here. Yes, she thinks she's in control. But everything's already arranged at the notary. If she doesn't change her behavior, she'll be excluded from the process. I'll handle it. Like always. Her voice was calm. Certain. Not a trace of doubt. When I listened back, I froze. This wasn't sibling rivalry anymore. This wasn't just tension in the house. She was planning something real. And it was bigger than just power of attorney. It started with the Wi-Fi. I sat in the kitchen with my laptop ready to check emails. A client was waiting for confirmation. But the network I'd been using since I arrived was just gone. No signal, no warning. Like it had been switched off. I checked the router in the hall, it was on. The network was still there, but with a new name. And a new password. Did you change the Wi-Fi password? I asked when Julia walked in. Yeah. Too many devices were connected. I reset it. And the new password? She paused. Didn't write it down yet. I'll send it to you later. My hands are covered in oil right now. I let it go. For the moment. An hour later I turned on the TV. Instead of channels, a message popped up. Account unavailable. I called customer service. They told me the login was wrong. Or the password had been changed. This wasn't coincidence. I went back to the kitchen. Julia, did you change the cable password too? She looked surprised. Oh really? Must have been an automatic update. Call the provider if it's urgent. It's your account. They won't tell me anything without you. Well, later. I'm busy right now. So this is all just an accident? She looked straight at me. Calm. Do you think I'm hiding something? I'm not saying that. I just want normal access. She shrugged. I feel better when everything's under one account. Less confusion. The words sounded reasonable, but the meaning was clear. Step by step she was cutting me out. First decisions without me. Now even the basics, internet, TV. It wasn't dismissal. It was displacement. Quiet, deliberate, planned. That night I called Aunt Allison. I need help. But first just come over. Don't warn anyone. I want you to see it yourself. She didn't hesitate. I'll be there tomorrow. That morning I woke up earlier than usual. The house felt heavy. The silence wasn't normal. It pressed on the walls. Julia wasn't in the kitchen. But a tray was already waiting, water and pills for Dad. She came in a minute later. I took it from the nightstand. You're taking care of him today, right? I nodded, picked up the tray and went to Dad's room. He was sitting up in bed, pale, exhausted. Good morning. Time for breakfast. Uh-huh, he muttered. No energy. I gave him water, handed him the pills. He swallowed and leaned back against the pillows. Half an hour later he started complaining of weakness. Worse than usual. His words slowed down. I went to check the medicine cabinet. And that's when I saw it. The bottle I'd given him pills from wasn't the right one. Same capsules, white and pink, same shape. But a different dosage. I stood there holding the bottle when Julia walked in. Something wrong. Did you give me these pills? Of course. They were on the nightstand. These aren't the right ones. It's his antihypertensive medication. He can't take it in the morning. It drops his pressure too fast. Julia froze for a second. Then her face relaxed. Are you sure? Maybe I grabbed the wrong one. But I thought you'd double-check. You said you prepared them. Yeah. But it's still the person who gives them that's responsible, right? I felt myself go cold. That evening Dad barely spoke to me. Not because of pain, because he was hurt. I could hear Julia's voice in his room, soft, careful. She's trying, Dad. She's just too stressed. But if this happens again, we can't take the risk. And his reply. I know. That was it. No questions. No clarification, just acceptance. The next morning I came into the kitchen and stopped in the doorway. Julia was on the phone, her voice low but steady. Yes, I want to report a situation. It's not an emergency but potentially dangerous. The woman living with us isn't a medical professional and has repeatedly violated the medication schedule. Yes, this could be a risk. I stepped forward. The floor creaked. She instantly hung up. Then she smiled at me. You're too quiet in the mornings. And you're too prepared, I said back. They came at 9:30. I was helping Dad with breakfast when the doorbell rang. 2 people stood outside. A man in a shirt and a woman in dark blue with a tablet. Papers, badges, the whole official look. Good morning. We're from social services. We received an anonymous complaint about potentially inadequate care for an elderly person here. Can we talk? Goosebumps went up my arms. Julia appeared in the hallway instantly, calm, almost welcoming. Of course. Come in. I'm free right now. Martha is too. She was ready for this. She knew. They questioned me first. I tried to stay calm, to explain how we split responsibilities, who gave the medication and when, what happened with the pill mistake. But then came the question. Do you have any medical training? No. But I follow the doctor's instructions. We keep all the prescriptions. The woman with the tablet didn't even look up. Have there been any cases of incorrect dosage? My throat tightened. One, yes. But that was because. I stopped. If I blamed no one, it was on me. If I blamed Julia, I'd look spiteful. Because of incorrect labeling on the bottle, I said finally. I caught it right away and corrected it. Her expression didn't change. She just typed. When they spoke to Dad, I stayed outside the door. But I could hear enough. Yes, my daughter helps. But the other one is more responsible. She writes everything down, reminds me. I don't always remember who gave what. Then, there were misunderstandings. But I don't blame anyone. It's just hard when someone doesn't know what they're doing. I clenched my fists so tight my nails dug into my skin. After the inspection, they sat with Julia. She opened the medicine cabinet, showed them her notes, even her meal plan. All the doses are written here, she said smoothly. I try to keep everything under control. Martha gets confused sometimes, but she tries. The woman nodded, typing again. Martha gets confused sometimes. It went into the report. Not an opinion. Fact. When they left, the house fell into silence. I stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the door, as if I could pull them back and make them listen to me again. Julia's voice broke the quiet. Calm. Even kind. You did well. Not bad for your first time. Was that your complaint? No. But if I saw something dangerous, I wouldn't stay silent. You did it on purpose. With the medication. She looked at me steady. You can't prove it. Then she walked to the kitchen, light steps, hair tied back, looking perfect. And I just stood there. Because the truth was simple. The social workers hadn't just left. They'd left a mark. Now it was official. On paper. In the system. I was the one who gets confused. We don't have time. Aunt Allison closed her laptop and looked at me. If she pushes again, next time they'll get rid of you. Legally. She's already started. I nodded. Then I pulled out a small box of equipment I used to take on work trips. Inside was a tiny Wi-Fi camera. I had once bought it just to keep an eye on my dog. Now, it was the only way to protect ourselves. Where do we put it? Allison asked. The kitchen. She thinks it's safe. But that's where everything happens, pills, food, calls. We hid the camera in an empty tea box on the top shelf. Invisible. Everything looked normal. The recording started that same day. We didn't expect anything right away. But on the second morning when I wasn't home, we caught something. Julia stood by the coffee maker, phone to her ear. No, she's still here. But she's on the verge. After that visit, she's like a beaten dog. A little more pressure and she'll either leave or break. I'm not rushing it. Then she opened the medicine cabinet, took out a new bottle of vitamins, slowly peeled off the label, and replaced it with another. The camera showed it clearly. She wasn't confused. She was setting up a trap. I watched it twice. My stomach dropped. She's not making mistakes, Allison said quietly. She's doing this on purpose. This is criminal. Can we use it? I asked. Not enough to convict, but enough to flip the situation. If we show Dad at the right moment. I didn't answer. My heart was pounding, because this wasn't sibling rivalry anymore. Not even manipulation. This was sabotage. Planned. Precise. I saved the files to a flash drive. That evening, Julia smiled as if nothing had happened. She talked to Dad about how hard she worked, how much she carried alone. He nodded. Allison stayed silent. When Julia stepped out to the balcony, Allison leaned toward me. Let's make dinner tomorrow. The three of us. And we'll turn on the TV. The kitchen was quiet that evening. Julia set the table neat as always. When Dad appeared in the doorway, she rushed to help him, smiling softly, moving like the perfect caretaker. I stood by the microwave, flash drive in my pocket. Allison sliced bread silently, her fingers stiff with tension. Just dinner tonight, I said calmly. No arguments. No talk about care or property. Agreed? Of course, Julia smiled. Just a family dinner. We sat down. Talked a little, news, the weather, even about an old neighbor with 3 dogs. Then the table went quiet. I looked at Dad. Can I show you something? Just a short video. Otherwise it's just words. And we've had too many words already. I walked to the TV, plugged in the flash drive. The screen showed the kitchen. Silent. Grainy. Julia opened the first aid kit. Took out a bottle of vitamins. Peeled off the label. Stuck on another. Dad sat motionless. Then the second clip, Julia on the phone. She's still here. But she's on the verge. A little more pressure and she'll leave or break down. I stopped the video. Silence filled the room. Dad kept his eyes down. Julia spoke first. It's edited. You're good with technology. The date is right there. It's unedited. And you know it. She turned to Dad. Don't listen to her. She's manipulating you. Playing the victim. It's all a game. He raised his hand. Quiet but firm. Be quiet. Julia froze. For the first time she didn't argue. I don't know what to say, Dad whispered. But I saw it. And it's not what I imagined. Dad, she started. No. No more. She stood up slowly. Gathered her plate, folded her napkin. At the door she paused. If you want me to go, I'll go. It's your choice, he said. But there will be no more lies here. She looked at me. Not angry. Not scared. Just empty. Like someone who lost fairly but still acted like she won. Then she went upstairs. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Dad said, I wasn't a good father. Maybe I didn't want to see. But now I see. I kept my eyes on my plate. I didn't need her punished. I just needed someone to believe me. He nodded. No more words. But the silence was different now. 2 days after dinner, Julia left the house. Said she was going to a friend's place to clear her head. For the first time it was just me, Dad, and Allison. The house felt calmer. Less tense. But also emptier. Dad wasn't recovering. Not physically. Not emotionally. Something in him was slipping. That evening, I was helping Allison with her laptop when I noticed an envelope in Dad's mailbox. A letter from a notary firm. It was a notice about changes to a power of attorney. Sent 2 weeks ago. I didn't see this, I said, holding it up. Allison shook her head. We called the number on the letter. A woman answered politely. Yes, a power of attorney was drawn up. Julia is the authorized representative for medical decisions, finances, and temporary management of property if your father's condition worsens. Everything is in accordance with procedure. But I'm his daughter. Why wasn't I involved? We work with the client and whoever they bring. If the person is conscious, the decision is theirs. And where did this meeting happen? At our office. Last Wednesday. My heart sank. Last Wednesday, Dad never left his bed. He was on painkillers. I had even logged it in the care notes. I sat down looking at Allison. She didn't take him there. I know it. She either forged it or someone came privately. Allison nodded slowly. We had a camera in the kitchen. But not in the car. Not in the living room. And then it all clicked. The confidence. The little hints. The calm behavior. Julia already had the documents. The leverage. She'd been waiting for the right moment to use it. I went to Dad. Sat across from him. Dad, do you remember going to a notary? What? When? A week ago. With Julia. I didn't go. I wasn't feeling well. She said a doctor was coming, but no one came. Did she ask you to sign anything? She said it was consent for a therapist visit. I didn't check. I closed my eyes. There was no anger. Just emptiness. Like I'd fallen back into the same trap I thought I had escaped. We checked the video from that day. Julia was home, but gone for half an hour. And that was enough. Enough for something irreversible. I opened my laptop and started searching the notary's name. Who was he? Someone she knew? Someone she'd worked with before? This wasn't about trust anymore. This was about my name. My place. On a document she had quietly erased. I sat across from a man in a gray suit. The notary looked dry, detached, the type who never asks why. Only, is this correct? Without Ms. Julia's permission, I can't give you copies of the documents. She's the authorized person for your father's data. But I'm his daughter. His own daughter. And he doesn't even remember signing anything. That's not my concern. The signatures are there. Witnesses were present. Your presence wasn't required. He was ill. He didn't understand what he was signing. The notary shrugged. If you believe the documents were illegal, you'll have to take it to court. I walked out, shoved my hands in my pockets. The air felt heavy. My head was empty. Like something had collapsed inside me. Then my phone buzzed. Julia. I see you already know everything. You could have just asked me directly. I called her. She picked up instantly, voice light, casual. Didn't think you'd be so predictable, she said. You knew he didn't understand what he was signing. He trusts me. And I used that. You would have too if you had any sense. You won't get away with this. I'll stop it. That's funny. Real power isn't in tears, Mart. It's in papers. And while you're wasting time with cameras and recordings, I'm making it official. That's illegal. The law isn't always on the side of who's morally right. And you? You've got no resources left. She hung up. I stood in the street, and something shifted inside me. This wasn't a fight between good and evil anymore. This was a game, system versus faith. And faith was losing. When I got home, Dad was asleep. Allison sat at the table going through old contacts, searching the notary's name, looking for loopholes. I slid down to the floor, leaning against the wall. If she has power of attorney, I whispered, she can take him away. Without me. Allison shook her head. Not without his consent. And you still have that. I stared at the door to his room. And I understood. As long as he trusts me, I exist. But if that trust breaks, I'll disappear. Even in my own home. I woke up at 3 in the morning for no reason. Like an alarm went off inside me just a few days late. I walked into the kitchen without turning on the light. Allison was already there. Laptop open, the glow on her face. Everything okay? I whispered. I found something. She didn't look up. The notary register. The date of the power of attorney is the same day your father was admitted to the hospital after his breakdown. I sat across from her. There's more. Audio. Remember the recorder you gave me for the doctor's visit? I left it on by accident. That day Julia came back from her so-called notary meeting. She pressed play. Julia's voice filled the kitchen. Come on, the signature's just a formality. What matters is that it looks official. He doesn't remember anything anyway. You could slip him a contract selling his soul, and he'd sign it. The important thing is not to let her interfere. A pause. Then a man's voice muffled. What if they ask? Julia again. No one will. The papers are fine. The seal is there. And it's all for Dad's good. The recording stopped. Allison looked at me. Not triumphant. Tense. Like we just reached a point where turning back was impossible. We can go to the police, she said. Or file a complaint with the notary chamber. This is serious. She can't walk away from this. I nodded. But not with relief. Yes, I had the audio. The date. Words that couldn't be twisted. Proof. And yet I didn't feel like I'd won. Because to win you have to play by their rules. And I didn't want to anymore. I went to Dad's room. He was awake. I heard you, he said quietly. I heard everything. Then we can stop this. I'll prove what she did. He turned to me, his eyes tired but clear. I believe you. But she's not the point. Then what is? The question is, do you still want to be here? Because I can't take another war. And you don't have to live in a battlefield. I looked at him, and for the first time there was no pain. Just a bitter, steady clarity. Will you come with me? He nodded. I sat in the lawyer's office. The audio was clear, time-stamped. The protocol was signed. We had Dad's medical report for that day, and the hospital's official printout. The lawyer went through it all in silence. Finally he said, "You have more than enough. File a complaint with the notary chamber. Demand the power of attorney be revoked. Push for an investigation into the notary. And if you want, a separate case for fraud in guardianship." How long? I asked. Months maybe. But you're not alone. You've got records, documents, witnesses. I left the building feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not possession. Not money. But control. The next day, Dad officially moved in with me and Allison. We registered his residence, filed for guardianship, updated his medical records. 3 days later, Julia got her letter from the law firm. Notice. A case had been opened, her documents under review. That evening she showed up. No warning. Knocked on the door. Allison opened it, calm as stone. Are you serious? Julia walked in, voice sharp. After everything? You've declared war? I came out of the kitchen, hands in my pockets. No. This isn't war. This is a reaction. To you. You can't prove anything. It was legal. In the recording you say, you could slip him a contract to sell his soul, and he'd sign it. He signed that paper while hooked 2 and 4. No witnesses. And I've already filed the complaint. It's official. Her face changed. No screaming, no tears. Just cold. You'll waste your time. I'll lose nothing. We'll see. She left. No drama. No threats. But the fear was there. Hiding under her sweater, but real. That night Dad said quietly, I don't know how this ends. But I'm calm now. Because I'm not stuck between you two anymore. I'm with you. I nodded. We sat in silence. Outside the night was still. No hysteria. No illusions. I hadn't defeated her. Maybe I never would. But the truth now had a form. A sound. A signature. And this time it was mine. The trial dragged on. We filed everything. To revoke the power of attorney, for document tampering, and even for endangering health through improper medication. The evidence was solid. Allison found a lawyer who specialized in elder care cases. Julia skipped the first hearing. She showed up at the second, with a lawyer who didn't even know what the case was about. I laid it all out. The video of her switching medicine labels. The audio of her saying, you could slip him a contract to sell his soul, and he'd sign it. The medical reports from the exact day the documents were signed. And most importantly, my father himself. He sat in front of the judge, weak but focused. When they asked if he remembered signing anything for Julia, he said simply, no. And now I know what she did. I don't trust her anymore. Those words hit the courtroom like a verdict. The court ruled. The power of attorney was invalid. An investigation was opened against the notary. I was officially appointed as the one responsible for Dad's care and decisions. And there was more. Julia's access to him was restricted for 6 months, with the right to extend it if she tried anything again. When we left the courthouse, I didn't cry. I didn't laugh. I just stood there as Dad held my hand. And in his eyes, for the first time in years, there it was, what I had needed all along. Trust. The next day we went back to our new home. Julia didn't show up again. For the first time we had peace. Not a moral victory. Not closure. Something simpler. It was, I'm here. I'm staying. And you can't erase me anymore. But sometimes at night, I catch myself listening for the sound of her car. Wondering if she's still out there planning. Because people like Julia don't just disappear.